Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again.
The cameras never lie, but sometimes they vanish at the exact moment truth matters most. In the dead of night, while an elderly woman slept in her desert home, someone moved with precision through the darkness. They knew where to step, what to avoid, and most importantly, where the camera was watching. At 1:47 in the morning, that digital eye went dark. 25 minutes later, movement flickered across the screen one final time before the device disappeared completely. By sunrise, Nancy Guthrie was gone. What makes this story grip you by the throat isn't just the mystery of a missing grandmother, or even the chilling footage that would eventually surface. It's the unraveling of a life built on loyalty and love, the kind of bond between a mother and daughter that millions watch unfold each morning on national television. When Savannah Guthrie's face appeared on screens across America, raw with desperation, begging for proof her mother was alive, the world stopped scrolling.
Who were born with a rare metabolic disorder, and each of them lived only 6 months.
This wasn't a script. This was a daughter watching her worst nightmare play out in real time, while investigators raced against a clock nobody could see. And the deeper you dig into what happened that February night in Tucson, the more unsettling the details become. Savannah's story doesn't start in the desert. It begins halfway across the world in Australia, where her parents Nancy and Charles Guthrie made their home, while Charles worked as a mining engineer. Born there in 1971, Savannah spent her earliest years far from the arid landscape she would later call home. When the family eventually returned to the United States and settled in Arizona, so the desert became the backdrop for Savannah's childhood and the place where her identity took root. But stability shattered in 1988 when Charles died suddenly of a heart attack. Savannah was 16, caught in that fragile space between childhood and adulthood, when losing a parent feels like losing gravity itself. His death didn't just leave an empty chair at the dinner table, it fundamentally altered the rhythm of their lives in ways that would echo for decades. Years later, Savannah would describe her father with striking clarity. He was a man of contradictions, someone who could be imposing and intimidating in the way deeply protective fathers often are, yet also remarkably gentle and loyal when it mattered. He had a gift for storytelling, the ability to transform mundane errands into unforgettable adventures. Tall, funny, guided by an unwavering moral compass, Charles set a standard his children felt every day. After his death, Savannah made a choice that revealed everything about her priorities. She stayed close for college, enrolling at the University of Arizona. Her sister Annie did the same, and together they formed an unspoken pact. No matter how busy life became, one of them would always be home on weekends, so their mother wouldn't be alone. Nobody announced this arrangement. It was just understood, a quiet testament to how tightly they held on to each other after loss reshaped their world. For decades, Australia remained more memory than reality for Savannah until 2015, when she returned with her mother. The trip fulfilled a lifelong dream, but it meant something deeper than nostalgia. Watching Nancy walk through places filled with memories of her life with Charles brought a kind of healing, as if some unfinished emotional circle had finally closed. Despite that connection to her birthplace, Savannah has always been clear about where she belongs. She's a daughter of the desert, shaped by the heat and openness of Arizona. In television appearances, she has often revisited Tucson with her mother, sitting at familiar local spots and talking about the place that raised her. These moments are more than casual outings. They are windows into a relationship Savannah clearly treasures. During Nancy's 81st birthday, Savannah spoke of her mother as a living example of integrity and loyalty, someone who quietly lived out her values every single day. But that strength didn't appear by accident. It was forged in the crucible of grief. Savannah has spoken openly about the transformation that came after her father's death. In the middle of her own pain, Nancy made a deliberate choice to put her children first, setting aside her grief to ensure they felt safe and supported. She became both parents at once, guiding the family forward with steadiness and resolve. From that moment on, Nancy raised her children completely alone, and Savannah has never hesitated to give her mother full credit. Everything good that followed, every achievement, every step forward, started with Nancy's fierce refusal to give up. The sacrifices she made without complaint, the quiet confidence she carried, became the foundation for her children's lives. Nancy Guthrie had always described life in Tucson as wonderful, defined by calm and gentle rhythm. She joked about watching javelinas wander through her yard and munch on plants. For those unfamiliar with the Southwest, javelinas are pig-like creatures that feel both strange and completely normal in desert neighborhoods. Nancy lived in the Catalina Hills area, tucked against the Santa Catalina Mountains, a place known for hiking trails and quiet evenings, not crime scenes. The Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed the area has a reputation for outdoor recreation, not violence. That contrast makes what happened so profoundly unsettling. The last time Nancy's family saw her was Saturday evening, January 31st. Nothing raised alarms. She went to her daughter Annie's home for dinner and game night, a routine gathering filled with normal conversation. At 5:32, Nancy took an Uber to Annie's house. Investigators later cleared the driver completely, who cooperated fully and provided dash cam footage. After several hours, relatives drove her home, dropping her off around 9:45. According to Sheriff Chris Nanos, investigators know exactly when she arrived. At 9:48, her garage door opened. 2 minutes later, it closed. Everyone believed she was safely inside, settling in for the night. Sometime in the early hours of Sunday morning, troubling signs appeared. At 1:47, Nancy's doorbell camera disconnected. Sheriff Nanos confirmed it was removed, though he wouldn't say destroyed. 25 minutes later, surveillance software detected movement, but the camera was never recovered and the software failed to save footage because there was no active subscription. Whatever was captured vanished. The most chilling detail came from Nancy's pacemaker. The app disconnected from her phone at exactly 2:28. Her cell phone was found inside the house, untouched. Analysts believe this marks the moment she was taken far enough from the phone for the connection to drop. Confusion surrounded how Nancy was first reported missing. Early reports suggested she missed church, but that was incorrect. Nancy had changed her routine during the pandemic and never returned to in-person services. Instead, she had a standing tradition with friends. Every Sunday they rotated homes and watched a live stream service together. Ironically, the service was based in New York, the same one her daughter Savannah attended. Nancy never missed these gatherings, so when Sunday morning came and she didn't show up, her friends immediately sensed something wrong. One reached out to Annie, setting everything in motion. By 11:56, relatives went to Nancy's home and realized she was gone. 7 minutes later, they called 911. By 12:15, deputies were on scene. This unfolded during a pivotal moment for Savannah professionally. She was preparing to fly to Italy to lead NBC's Winter Olympics coverage. She had spent the weekend focused on her family. That normalcy shattered with a single phone call. A relative told her their mother was missing. Those close to Savannah described it as the worst call of her life. Without hesitation, she made arrangements to fly to Tucson. By Sunday afternoon, investigators realized this wasn't routine. Sheriff Nanos received a text describing the home's condition that immediately raised red flags. He said the description was disturbing enough that he wouldn't repeat it publicly. Trusting his instincts, he called in homicide detectives and search teams. Deputies found the first concrete evidence, blood on the front porch. Tests confirmed it belonged to Nancy, though the amount was minimal. Additional items went to the lab, and authorities emphasized they were actively pursuing leads rather than waiting passively for results. By the third day, the case took another unsettling turn. Multiple ransom notes surfaced, sent not to the family but to media outlets. At least 3 messages went to organizations including TMZ and Tucson stations. Each demanded millions in Bitcoin for Nancy's return. But immediately, questions followed. Federal investigators confirmed the same message went to multiple outlets, raising red flags. However, the FBI couldn't verify whether the notes were genuine or hoax. Even more troubling, the Guthrie family had received no direct contact from anyone claiming to hold Nancy. Investigators were unsure exactly when the notes were sent, leaving frustrating gaps in the timeline. The opening line claimed Nancy was okay, but frightened. Yet beyond that, the note offered no way to respond, no contact method. Authorities remained guarded, declining to release full contents, though confirming the messages referenced an Apple Watch and floodlight. No proof of life was provided. One version reportedly included deadlines of 5 o'clock on February 5th and February 9th, though officials didn't specify which time zone. Despite unanswered questions, the FBI stressed threats were taken seriously, warning that false letters and impersonation would not be treated lightly. On February 4th, Savannah appeared in a video with her siblings Annie and Cameron. 4 days had passed since their mother disappeared, and strain showed across their faces. Savannah pleaded for proof Nancy was alive and urged whoever was responsible to reach out. She emphasized Nancy lives with constant pain and depends on daily medication. Savannah, who had stepped away from Olympics coverage, ended by speaking directly to her mother, promising they wouldn't stop searching. That evening, activity around the home intensified. Detectives returned for what authorities called a follow-up. Crime scene tape briefly reappeared before being removed again. Officials offered no explanation. The story reached the highest government levels. The president personally called Savannah and later announced federal agencies were directed to make every resource available. At exactly 5 o'clock local time, as the first ransom deadline passed, Cameron shared his own message, urging captors to make contact. The family had heard nothing and had no way to communicate. Behind the scenes, law enforcement ramped up response. The FBI joined forces with the sheriff's department and announced a $50,000 reward. Officials emphasized the investigation was coordinated, with local and federal agencies working together. Questions arose about contact with Mexican officials given Arizona's border proximity. Sheriff Nanos confirmed no such communication occurred, and there was no indication of cross-border involvement. By day 6, the case took an even darker turn. A local affiliate reported receiving what appeared to be a second message. The FBI and Sheriff's Office released a joint statement saying they were reviewing the information carefully. What emerged deepened fear. The news director explained neither message included proof Nancy was alive. While the first claimed she was fine, the second took a different tone. It didn't ask for money and didn't resemble a traditional ransom. Instead of providing a photo, the sender included only a written description of Nancy. Most alarming, the second message referenced consequences if a deadline passed. When asked whether that implied harm, the answer was clear and deeply troubling. Around the same time, a CBS affiliate confirmed it too received a message. The station turned over all information to law enforcement, including technical data about where it originated. As night fell, the investigation intensified visibly. Detectives wearing gloves flooded Nancy's property. Evidence markers appeared across the yard. Investigators climbed onto the roof, searched bushes, and examined ground meticulously. A vehicle believed connected to Nancy was towed away. 1 week after Nancy vanished, her children released another video addressing whoever might be holding their mother. Savannah spoke directly to the camera, acknowledging they had received a message and understood what it meant. She pleaded for their mother's return, saying it was the only way the family would find peace. The message ended with a statement they were willing to pay, though no details were shared publicly. Hours later, investigators shifted attention to Annie's home. Where Nancy spent her final evening, detectives carried bags of items out. One forensic analyst questioned the timing, noting evidence collection seemed late. His concerns centered on time passage, warning electronic data and security footage can be lost or overwritten if not preserved quickly. Activity continued late into the night. Around 10:30, investigators left with evidence bags, while at least one deputy remained in protective gloves. The following morning, investigators returned to Nancy's home just before 11. This time their focus was the septic tank. Footage showed them shining flashlights inside and using a long tool to probe beneath the surface. Meanwhile, more details emerged about one message. The person claiming to have abducted Nancy demanded $6 million with a stark ultimatum. As if money wasn't delivered by 5 o'clock on February 9th, her life would be in danger. With that deadline looming, Savannah returned to social media around 1:30, visibly shaken. She explained the family was desperate and needed help. She said they believed Nancy was alive and emphasized law enforcement was working nonstop. Savannah urged anyone with even the smallest information to come forward. By this point, the FBI had fully mobilized. Officials confirmed no suspect or person of interest was identified, and there had been no recent direct communication. A 24-hour command post was established with crisis negotiators working around the clock. The sheriff's department acknowledged pursuing new leads, but had no suspect description or vehicle information. A visible law enforcement presence would remain at the residences as the search expanded. On February 10th morning, just after 11, the investigation reached a chilling moment. the FBI released surveillance footage from Nancy's home, offering the clearest look at a possible suspect. In the video, a single figure appears outside, dressed deliberately in black jacket, light-colored pants, and large pale backpack. Their face is concealed by a ski mask, hands covered with vinyl gloves. From the first frame, this is someone who came prepared. The behavior is methodical and unsettling. The individual approaches the doorbell camera and begins adjusting it, clearly aware of its presence. When that doesn't fully block the view, they reach into a nearby plant bed, snap off a small branch, and use it to physically obscure the lens. Investigators confirm the individual was armed. A handgun is visible in a holster across their body. Even more disturbing is how practiced their movements appear. With backpacks strapped on and flashlight clenched between teeth, their hands remain free. Through narrow ski mask cutouts, their eyes are visible, fixed, and focused. For days, investigators believed this footage didn't exist. Nancy didn't have an active subscription, and early on, authorities stated no saved video was available. Then came the breakthrough. FBI director revealed footage was recovered using residual data stored within back-end systems after coordination with private sector partners. The video bears a Nest watermark and the empty bracket matches a Google device. That detail turned out to be everything. Nest cameras differ from most doorbell systems. Most only stream live video unless owners pay for cloud subscription. Nest operates differently. Even without subscription, cameras still upload short clips to Google's cloud temporarily. Older models store clips accessible for roughly 3 hours. Newer models capture shorter clips remaining available about 6 hours. Activity at Nancy's door was being uploaded to the cloud for limited time. The doorbell was disabled at 1:47. Nancy wasn't reported missing until later that morning. Well beyond the window clips would be visible. By the time anyone knew to look, footage had disappeared from user access. However, disappearing from an app doesn't mean data is gone. When data is deleted from cloud storage, the system simply marks space as available for reuse. Until overwritten, remnants can still exist. Recovering that data from Google is no simple task. Infrastructure spreads data across countless servers worldwide. Files are fragmented, broken into pieces, and distributed. Once marked deleted, the system no longer tracks it actively. The process is like manually reconstructing a puzzle without a guide. Engineers locate fragments, identify them, and piece them back together while navigating complex digital architecture. This complexity explains why it took more than a week for footage to surface. Some suggest delay involved legal processes as tech companies comply with warrants in narrowly defined ways. Others believe delay was technical, with engineers needing days to locate and reconstruct data. Given the high-profile nature, many lean toward technical explanation. Regardless, the result was undeniable. The recovered footage shows an armed individual actively tampering with the camera at Nancy's door in the early hours she disappeared. It was no longer theory or timeline built on data points. There was now a person, a moment, and clear active intent. Shortly after images were released, Savannah shared the surveillance stills on social media. She expressed belief her mother was alive and urged whoever was responsible to bring her home. Along with images, she shared contact information for authorities. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within minutes, thousands of comments poured in. The footage had transformed the case overnight, shifting from uncertainty to urgency and placing a face, however hidden, at the center of a mystery the entire country was now watching.